job.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I'm going to walk through a little bit in the head, and then I'm going to work, obviously, like I said, down. So the structures that I'm going to focus on are not going to be the muscles. The muscles, we have videos on those already, so I'm not going to waste any time doing that. First thing I'm going to talk about are the couple salivary glands that are visible in kind of the cheek and chin region. The ones closer to our ear are the parotid glands. And then underneath of the mandible would be the submandibular glands. I think on your list there is a sublingual gland listed. This model, I don't have a visible view of those. Sublinguals are underneath the tongue. If I bring another model next week, you should be able to see those, and that's why one of the reasons I want to bring that. Okay. At the top of the throat, you can see what number 90 here is labeling. This is the thyroid cartilage of the larynx. So if you wanted to be real specific, you could say thyroid cartilage. If you wanted to just be real general, that would just be the larynx. Okay. We call it the thyroid cartilage because it sits right above the thyroid gland. We've talked about that organ before, which sits on top or anterior to the trachea. You can see the ridges of the trach really nicely. Okay. Now, as I work here, first thing really easy to visualize and see are the two lungs. Here are the apexes of the lungs. Not that that's something that I'm going to ask you. Remember that the lung on the right side has 3 lobes separated by an oblique horizontal fissure. The left lung is going to have only 2 lobes separated by an oblique fissure because of this cardiac notch that's in there. I don't think any of that stuff's really on the exam. But just in case, there you go. I'll pull those out of the way so we can kind of see some of the more internal structures. And in our last video, we talked about the thymus, which sits on top of the heart. Okay, pull the heart and thymus out. Now I can see the very tapering end of the trachea before it branches to go into the lungs. First 2 branches of the bronchial tree are the right and left primary or main bronchi. So right primary, left primary or main bronchus. Okay, for the first time we can see the very visible esophagus, which is going to lead down to the stomach. And you can see right next to it is the aorta. Moving out of the thoracic region, here's our divider between the thoracic region and the abdominal cavity, the diaphragm, which sits on top of our liver. Okay, here's the 2 lobes of the liver, right and left. Notice, remember that the right lobe is much bigger than the left. Those are separated by the what we call falciform ligament. The back side of the liver is where we can see this kind of pear-shaped gallbladder, and you can see the cystic duct running off of it. Okay. Together, those produce and store bile, which is transported to the duodenum by way of the common bile duct and joins the pancreatic duct coming from the pancreas. Pictured here or shown here is the stomach. We have the different regions. Remember, the stomach allows food in through the lower esophageal sphincter or the cardiac sphincter, and that's what closes off and prevents food and the gastric juice from spilling back up in the esophagus. And so if somebody has a leaky sphincter there, they get a lot of heartburn, or what we call gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD for short. Okay, what's nice about this model is you can actually open it up. You can see, remember how we had those inner folds of the mucosa? We call that rugae. Okay. At the end of the stomach is the antrum, which then opens up and dumps the food into the duodenum through the pyloric sphincter. So pyloric sphincter here, lower esophageal or cardiac sphincter at the beginning. Okay. Now the stomach sits anterior to the visible pancreas here. Okay, pancreas kind of tapers from the right side of our body down and points towards the left, where it kind of runs into our visible spleen. Okay. Pull that out of the way, and now I'm just going to pull out the parts of the small and large intestine. The small and large intestine are basically just intact, so there's really no good way to tell what's duodenum, what's jejunum, what's ileum for the small intestine. Okay, the large intestine, it's a lot easier. Okay, what just fell off onto the floor and what I'm pulling off here is the beginning of the large intestine, which is called the cecum, that blind pouch where the appendix dangles off. Okay, and that's down in our kind of right lower quadrant. For the rest of the large intestine, you have the colon, which includes the ascending, transverse, descending, sigmoid colon, and then the rectum and anus that we'll talk about in just a little bit. Okay, on the back side, you can see this is all mesentery, which is holding the small intestine in place. Okay. Now, before I move down towards the bottom here, you can see the two kidneys very easily and the two adrenal glands sitting on top. This blue blood vessel here is the inferior vena cava. Over here to the left of it is the abdominal aorta, and then those will be the two common iliac arteries and the two common iliac veins that either deliver blood to legs or bring it back up. Wouldn't worry about the common iliacs at all. The draining draining urine from the kidneys are the two ureters, which drain the urine down into the bladder. So I'll pull this out and I'm going to open it up. Okay, here is the lumen of the bladder, and like I said, those receive the urine from the ureters. Okay, what is not visible here would be the urethra, because the penis has been taken off. And you can see the testes really nicely on the right testy here. You can actually see the testy itself, and then the head of the epididymis, which is what 23, 22, and 21 are. Okay, the left testy is not as dissected, so you can still see the spermatic cord though on both, which remember is going to contain blood vessels, the vas deferens, and that cremaster muscle, which is what elevates or lowers the testes. Okay. Now, bringing the sperm up into the body cavity through the inguinal canal is the vas deferens, which is what this little tube is. We're circling around the bladder, and along with secretions from the seminal vesicle, dump into the beginning of the urethra. Okay. On the inferior side of the bladder is where you'll find the prostate gland, which you can also see from the side view here, which is this kind of darkish maroonish color. So that would be the prostatic urethra, and then it becomes the membranous or intermediate, and then into the penis it would become the spongy urethra. Okay, this part here shows you the last segments of the large intestine. We left off with the sigmoid colon, which makes this the rectum, and then the very terminal end would be the anus, okay, which is the poop hole, which is guarded by the external anal sphincter that helps control our ability to go to the bathroom or not go to the bathroom. All right, I believe that's everything.